Hi, my name is Erica Zachary, and I will be presenting unto you today my presentation titled The Use of Personality Assessments in Making Employment Decisions. Welcome to my presentation. For decades, personality assessments have been available for employers. Many employers have had great success utilizing these tools to help predict future performance of candidates in specific jobs. This presentation will cover different personality tests and what each one consists of and how each one complements employers in their decisions. The purpose of this presentation consists of personality assessments which helps employers make the right decisions. Bad hiring and promotion decisions can plague a company for years and cost it dearly. A candidate who looks amazing on paper and performs well in the interview process may perform poorly when placed in a particular position. Alternatively, some candidates appear weak in an interview but would have been a diamond in the rough if they had made it through the interview process. Over the past decades, personality assessments have been developed to characterize the behavior, thoughts, and feelings of an individual. The benefit of personality assessment is its ability to sort, classify, and categorize people. Personality assessments in employment decisions helps employers during the hiring process, which deters them from making bad hiring and assists them with decisions regarding promotions for employees who are already an asset to the company. Critical evaluation. Some commonly measured personality traits in working settings are extroversion, con- consciousness, openness to new experiences, optimism, agreeableness, service orientation, stress tolerance, emotional stability, and initiative. Personality tests typically measure traits related to behavior at work, interpersonal interactions, and satisfaction with different aspects of work. Personality tests are often used to evaluate whether individuals have the perspective to be successful in jobs where performance requires a great deal of interpersonal communication or work in team settings. Personality tests may also assist in evaluating and coaching current employees. Now I would like to provide you with some history in regards to personality assessments, which includes a few philosophers who are behind, has contributed gracefully to personality assessments. Sigmund Freud significantly influenced personality assessments in the psychology field. Also contributing to this was Austrian physician Alfred Adler and Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist. In fact, Jung devised one of the earliest personality instruments, the automated word association test. For example, what is the first word that comes to mind when I say the word baby? Interesting. Carl Jung also influenced the Myers-Briggs type indicator, also known as the MBTI, which is also an assessment that I will speak about later in my presentation. Advantages of personality assessment. A few advantages include have been demonstrated to produce valid inferences for a number of organizational outcomes, can reduce business costs by identifying individuals for hiring, promotion, or training who possess the needed skills and abilities. Personality tests are typically less likely to differ in results by gender and race than other types of tests. It also can be administered via paper and pencil or computerized methods easily to large numbers. It can be cost effective to administer. It does not require skilled administrators. So these are just a few advantages of the personality assessment. Now we're going to move on to the disadvantages of personality assessments. The disadvantages of personality assessments includes it may contain questions that do not apply or appear job related or seem invasive if not well developed. It may lead to individuals responding in a way to generate a positive decision result rather than how they really are. For instance, they may try to optimistically manage their impression or even fake their reply. It may be challenging for use in employee selection if the test is one used to identify medical conditions such as mental disorders, stress, schizophrenic, depression, those type of disorders rather than basically to evaluate work-related personality traits. So there's advantages of the personality assessments and there are disadvantages of the personality assessments. And I've just provided you with that. Current practices. In making employment decisions, there are two tests which are applied, which is the objective test and the projective test. According to Mello 1995, the objective test is administered in a group setting and measures an individual's characteristics, while the projective test is individually administered in a controlled setting and is intended to uncover such unconscious desires that are hidden from conscious awareness. Assessment instruments used in personality assessments in making employment decisions. Back in 1943, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator was developed by Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. The MBTI focuses on four distinct areas, and they are as follows: extroversion and introversion, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. Now let's go back to extroversion or introversion. This is basically whether or not one prefers to focus on the outer world or on your own inner world. Sensing and intuition focuses on the basic information you take in, or do you prefer to interpret and add meaning? When making decisions, do you prefer to first look at logic and consistency and special circumstances? What about judging and perceiving? This is dealing with the outside world. Do you prefer to get things decided or do you prefer to stay open to new information or options? The best reason to choose the MBTI instrument to discover your personality type is that hundreds of studies over the past 40 years have proven the instrument to be both valid and reliable. In other words, it measures what it says it does, which is the validity part of it. And it produces the same results when given more than once. That's the reliability part of it. The MBTI can be completed in approximately 25 minutes, according to Roseman 2014, and it contains 93 items, all of which is self-reported. The format for this assessment is basically paper and pencil, and the scoring is basically instantly upon completion of this assessment. It is highly recommended that the test users are trained. There are a series of questions, and your responses basically determines what personality type an individual will have and provides general assumptions in regards to that individual's success. In developing the MBTI, the aim of Isabel Briggs Myers and her mother Catherine Briggs was to make the insights of type theory accessible to individuals and groups. The next assessment, which is the DISC assessment, is also an interesting assessment which was utilized in making employment decisions because according to Minio 2014, Mouton Marston stated in his theory that an individual's emotions can be categorized into the following types: dominance, inducement, submission, and compliance. The results of this quiz are used to create a personalized DISC personality file, which provides an insight into a wide range of DISC personality traits and motivating factors. The DISC helps an employer determine what an individual's behavior says in regards to their leadership style. The next assessment is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. In 1943, this assessment was developed by Stark R. Hathaway and John Charlie McKinley. This test cannot be located online and is considered a protected psychological instrument, which means that the only person who can give it and interpret it are those trained to do so, such as a psychologist. The administration of this assessment is by paper and pencil, and it takes approximately 60 to 90 minutes to complete. Now, the MMPI is currently commonly administered in one of two forms. The MMPI-2, which has 567 true or false questions, and the newer MMPI-2RF published in 2008, containing only 338 true or false items. While the MMPI-2RF is a newer measure and takes about half the time to complete, usually 30 to 50 minutes, the MMPI-2 is still the more widely used test because of its existing large research base and familiarity with psychologists. The next assessment I would like to talk about is the IPIP NEO personality test. Now, this test was developed back in 1990 by Paul Costa Jr. and Robert McCrae. The utilization of this assessment consists of measuring 5 broad personality categories and 30 subcategories. This test is beneficial to many organizations, in which many of them utilize to evaluate an employee's interaction in a multicultural setting. Legal risk and implications in personality assessments. In psychological testing and assessment, there are significant legal implications in administering these tests to employees and applicants. Employers still considering such tests should consider the following precautions and practices. Never use psychological or personality tests as the sole criterion for hiring or promotion decisions. Avoid using tests that require analysis by a psychologist, psychiatrist, or social worker. And review existing tests to ensure they do not include a psychological diagnostic component. There was a case, Carricker versus Renner Center, which violated the American Disabilities Act. The assessment the employers utilized was the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, which is used to diagnose psychiatric disorders. The MMPI was used, and they stated that this violated the Americans Disability Act as far as the management went. Okay, so this is why this is very important. The legal risks and implications should be taken seriously in personality assessments, because this can avoid a lot of violations or legal implications. Ethical, cultural, and societal facing personality assessments in employment decisions. Personality assessments focus is very broad, although it includes the utilization of psychometric tests. Country of origin, language, values, beliefs, and customs all must be considered regarding personality assessments. Test validity and reliability is also a very important factor. Questions of sufficiency of a test as a measure of the quality it is interpreted to evaluate are answerable on scientific grounds by appraising psychometric evidence, especially construct validity. Pre-employment can have a tremendous effect on people's lives, in which a number of ethical issues may arise when designing, carrying out, and making decisions based on such assessments. Ethics basically is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. A few other ethical issues are topics considered in ethics of testing, which includes the use of data, qualification of test users, test development, fairness in testing, test selection, administration, scoring, interpretation, and a communication of results. Now, as far as unethical issues, let's say in regards to the Myers-Briggs test, it is unethical for them to make decisions regarding work assignments, and that is true all of the other tests too. Most employers, however, administer the test without making the dangers clear, giving assurance regarding how the test will be used and will who will have access to the results, or guaranteeing confidentiality. That's an ethical issue also. Moving on, The conclusion to this presentation is basically making poor hiring decisions not only have the potential to create a toxic work environment, but it can also be costly. Although an employer may be challenged in court for utilizing personality tests in employee selection, the benefits of more successful employees outweigh potential legal costs. And this is the end of my presentation. Following are the references.